Good afternoon folks, 21st Century Caveman here. Hope everybody's safe, hope everybody's well. So it's been a pretty miserable morning here in Old Blighty, but the sun's starting to come from behind the clouds now. So I'm in a suburban area. I've just been to the cash point and I've got a brown bag in my pocket, just one solitary £10 note. So we're going to talk through a fictitious scenario today where the hits a fan. All I've got is £10 cash in my pocket. Is there anything worthwhile I can do with that? So we're looking at things that will help me get through the next few days. You can't get a lot these days with 10 quid. However, I am outside a store which may provide some opportunity. So I'm outside a local branch of Poundland. So can that help me or not? I'll reset the camera and get back to you. Well, the first thing that becomes very clear is the fact that you can get yourself some food and drink. Let's move on. Now this side looks quite promising. So we've got some fire starters. We can kill vermin. Got some dinky little traps here, look. Perhaps you could catch yourself something. There we go, look. Lunch is served. We've got some bags here, look. 300 litre now, that's a big bag. And so yeah, 2 squid and you get 15 of them. Okay, worthwhile thinking about, isn't it? Got some containers. £1. Some cloths. Rubber gloves, so they'd come in handy, wouldn't they? Protect yourself from viruses and all sorts. And this is a good little section to be in actually, because it goes on to cover a lot of DIY stuff as well. So let's just see if there's anything interesting there, shall we? What can we see then? Well, we've got some super glue. We also have some work gloves. So we have a couple of blades here, look. Heavy duty snap off knife, so that might be worth thinking about. And we've also got one of these utility knives, and they're the prices on there, look. So yeah, I mean, you know, it could be worse, couldn't it? We've got some cable ties. They always come in handy, don't they? But would you spend £2 out of a £10 budget just buying cable ties? I think you'd be better off getting some cord, wouldn't you? Now, definitely, we'd need to consider something like a pair of pliers. So it'd certainly come in handy, wouldn't they? And we have also it looks like a ratchet screwdriver, 3 squid. Okay. This is less expensive, £2 little screwdriver. These aren't going to be brilliant quality obviously, but it might be the case that it's better than nothing.
Netflix and so much more. There's a gift for everyone. Grab them at checkout.
Some little screwdriver sets, look. And some little hobby knives here, look. For a quid, 4 of. Means 4 blades, doesn't it? So yeah, could be worse, couldn't it? Okay, so there's a bike cover here, look, 2 metres. It might cover you up, mightn't it? It could protect you from the rain, I suppose, if you're really desperate. And let's be honest about this, if you're wandering around Poundland looking for stuff to get you through the apocalypse, I think it's pretty certain things are going to end in tears, aren't they? So we've got a mixture of gloves, beanies and socks. Reasonable price. So yeah, they're worth having, aren't they? Let's continue our search, shall we? Useful little stainless steel bowl. £1.50. Bargain. Pair of scissors, £1. Four table knives, not the strongest thing you'll ever find, but better than nothing, isn't it? Got some serrations, so you should be able to cut something with those. Spoon, who needs a spork? There you go, look, for £1 you've got 4 or 5 spoons there. Some little notebooks there, look. Little sewing kits, look, just to repair your gear. Needles, thread, scissors, again. So what we got here then? Little tin with a lid on it. If you can get it off. Yeah, there we go, look. That looks interesting, doesn't it? Make yourself some chart cloth using one of those. Okay. And some enamel plates. Let's put that back down there, shall we? There you go, look, little pan. Could also use it as a cup, £1. And some more cutlery. Schmicko. Loads of water, £1. Fresh from a local spring. Soup, beans, you name it, it's here. Meatballs in tomato sauce. Tasty and full of goodness. Lots and lots of containers, very cheap. £1.25. Causing havoc here in Poundland. Let's put that back up there, shall we? There we go. Here's some nice bigger containers, look. £1.50. Bit expensive, aren't they, these? Plus they've got a double wall, so you can't put these in a fire. Okay. Well, these could come in handy, couldn't they? Cold and flu relief. Painkillers. Schmicko. 10 full containers, £1.25. £1.25, loads of tea lights. 40 of those, look. They'd keep you going for a while, wouldn't they? Okay, so we're in the gardening section now. This is where things start to get good. Right, okay, so we've got a nice little tub here, look, for £1. That's worthwhile, isn't it, surely? Excellent stuff. We've got some jute wine. You could always use that to start fires, couldn't you? Ruffle it up, you've got yourself some tinder. You've got some plant ties here, look. So that'll be useful for securing a number of different things, wouldn't it? And these pruning shears, look, for £1.50. It's got to be a bargain, isn't it? And also, of course, these gloves here, look, for £1. Can't go wrong, can you? Right, okay folks, so we've had a good old dash around Poundland and we've identified a number of very useful resources to help us compile a survival kit. The problem is, of course, that we only have £10. So whilst they could all be very useful indeed, we've got to be very selective and try and prioritise what our needs will be. So I'm going to break the video into two separate parts. One will be a survival kit for the countryside, in other words, where you have to flee the city, and the other one will be an urban survival kit where you're going to stay in your town or your city. So to kick off with then, let's have a look at a countryside survival kit. So first of all then, your main priority is going to be shelter. So I've gone for the 300 litre bin liners. We've got 15 of them. It's going to cost us £2, and these can be fixed together to make a tarp to protect you from the wind and the rain, and you could also use them as a poncho. Now you could also put them on the ground just to keep you off the cold, damp soil, and also you could put leaves in these and make yourself a bed to lie on. So the next thing I decided to go for was the duct tape, and the reason being that this can be used to put together the bin liners to make a nice big tarp. The uses for duct tape are unlimited by your imagination, and you could also use duct tape if you break it down into fine strands. You could use it as tinder to get yourself a fire going. So next on the list then, I've gone for the 200 metres of jute twine. Now I accept that this isn't going to be the strongest twine out there, but there is a lot of it, and therefore if you need something a bit stronger, you could double or triple it up, or you can actually weave it to create a much stronger rope. Now I'll be using this as a ridgeline for my shelter. Now it does also make excellent tinder if you pull it apart and fluff it up a little bit, and obviously you can use it for fixing things together. So that's the jute twine. Next on my list are the lighters. Now there's 4 lighters for £1. I appreciate that these aren't going to be the best quality lighters, but if you're outdoors, quite apart from the need for shelter, it's very important to make sure that you can start a fire to keep warm, cook food, get yourself a nice hot drink, sterilise water by boiling, etc. And also if you need some light, you can make a fire or make yourself an improvised torch. Now I've also gone for 12 bottles of water because this will meet a critical need. It's obviously very important to remain hydrated, and humans can only survive for approximately 3 days without water. But by this time, you will start to notice the effects and your senses will start to deteriorate. Now obviously you can boil up water to make yourself a nice hot drink to keep warm. If you're in an area where there's conifers, you can get some pine needles, mix them up, make a tea, and that will provide loads of vitamin C just to keep you hydrated, to keep you nourished, and to keep your spirits up. And of course, once you've used the water, you can also use a container for storage, for carrying stuff, and obviously for storing more water. So the next priority, as far as I'm concerned, is food. So I've decided to go for 2 large cans of meatballs, which is going to cost me £1.50. Now, although I'm pretty much a vegetarian these days and I prefer to have a couple of cans of, say for example, mackerel, the meatballs are cheaper and therefore they offer more bang per buck. And quite frankly, if everything goes pear-shaped, I'm not adverse to eating a little bit of donkey meat if it keeps me going. And also, of course, let's not forget that once you eat the meatballs, you will be left with 2 stainless steel cans, which will give you 2 fine containers for cooking and for drinking out of. Now, we've still got a little bit of budget left, so I'm also going to pick up a large tin of mackerel. Now, these are very high in nutrients and they're very tasty, and as per the meatballs, once you've actually eaten the mackerel, you also have another decent container which you can use for a variety of purposes, which will further enhance my survival chances. So at this point then, we've got 3 large stainless steel cans which are going to be absolutely invaluable. So last but by no means least then, I've decided to go for 10 eggs. Now obviously eggs are highly nutritious. They'll provide a tasty and filling meal over a number of days. The container, this cardboard they sit in, that can be used as dry tinder to get a fire going, and obviously you can use eggs or indeed any food to make bait to catch yourself a critter which you can carve up and cook on your fire. So that's how I've decided to spend my £10 if I was going to take to the woods or the countryside. Okay, so now let's move on to my choices for the urban survival kit. Now I'm assuming that because you'll be in an urban environment, shelter will be readily available, so therefore it's not going to be something which I'm going to concentrate on. That's not going to be my priority in an urban environment. So in no particular order then, I'm going to bag 4 lighters. Again, I'm going to go for 200 metres of jute wine. I'm also going to go for 12 bottles of water again. And obviously, depending on the nature of the emergency or disaster, any water available in an urban environment may be contaminated. Once again, I'm going to go for 2 cans of meatballs for exactly the same reasons as I mentioned earlier. I'm also going to have the 10 eggs again for exactly the same reasons I've mentioned before. I'm also going to go for a loaf of bread this time. Now this is obviously another valuable food source which will help to sustain me for a short period of time and can also be used as bait to catch, for example, something like a feral pigeon, which will be a very tasty and nutritious meal indeed. Another difference to the countryside kit, if I'm in an urban environment, I'm going to take the 20 strong garden sacks. Now these will provide lots of useful storage and carrying opportunities and will prove to be absolutely invaluable when scavenging in an urban environment, and obviously you can use it to protect your gear from the elements as well, can't you? And another change here, I've decided to go for the 4 large dessert spoons. Now the reason is quite simply because these are multifunctional and obviously they can be used for, the obvious uses such as cooking, mixing things. You can use it as a digging tool, and you can also use these as an improvised weapon, or so for example a shank. You can use them as levers to try and pry stuff open, perhaps to help you gain access to a building or a place where you can seek shelter. Anyway folks, look, thank you very much indeed for tuning into another one of my videos. I'd be very interested to hear what you would have chosen for those 2 scenarios, so please leave your comments in the section below, and I look forward indeed to reading what you have to say and the reasons why. Thanks for watching, take care, bye bye.